Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Parish.
Showed you Claare na Gael as Ballaugh sure chiaull. My name is Robert Coutin Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have you ever had tell of old Bobby Bob?
And it's my pleasure to welcome you to this programme in which you'll hear the English language as Angie Nist Nisu Clashen na Gilg, and in which too you'll hear the Manx Gaelic, Chinny na Mera, the mother tongue of Ellen Vanning, the Isle of Man. As Laa'l Andreays in the foreword written in 1940 to the collection of Ballaugh nicknames compiled by Mr J B Keig and published in I'm not sure was it published anyway, he made that collection in 1933, Charles Crane and Marcus Braid referred to a section on nicknames in J.J. Neen's 1937 publication, The Personal Names of the Isle of Man. They've known J.J. of course. But A.W. Moore had been there before, in 1890, in his Surnames and Place Names of the Isle of Man. Ren and Surren Sach Renfield, ons Tai Benrich and Early John Seward, gwy de tochtach de veiliget ser. As gather au shen Julich day, Chanel and Early Seward Shigger, vel shen cart na din, Chanel and Fairly Seward Shigger the vel shen cart na din. As leshen over Kai as Crayok, take oirish, de veli Corersen, de ve lag chriach. Tanolo van Helsing Gurgege. As we're just past Laa'l Andreays St Andrew's Day, which we celebrated in Claare last Thursday evening, we'll enjoy some of the music of Scotland, which, of course, St Andrew is the patron saint of. We start out in Barra with CAPERCAILLIE. Tashu geisjach rish Radio Vanning Stashu na Nashun, Viskuller Scalia Mach by Dúlish, Alan Vanning. A piece that CAPERCAILLIE called the Barra clapping song, one of the processes in walking the cloth by hand to make tweed. Now, turning to A.W. Moore's The Surnames and Place Names of the Isle of Man, the final section of Part 1, Surnames, is Appendix B, Nicknames used in the Isle of Man. This, well, at least the first part of it, is in the form of a narrative or essay, although, as it was written in 1890, we have to allow for the fact that what he has to say, or in fact how he says it, may not be what more modern scholarship has to say, or in fact respond to be exactly like conventions of modern speech. With that proviso, he begins. In other than Celtic countries, surnames have most frequently originated from nicknames descriptive of the personal peculiarities of some early ancestor. Thus, in England, we find families bearing such names as White, Black, Short, Long, etc. And amongst the Romans, the cognomina Crassus, Fat, Varus, Bow-legged, Cincinnatus, Curly, and many others continued to be borne by the descendants of the men to whom they were originally applicable. Dúirt an olúr is an early siúd, sanach trom chúiseach cingelega, Machara John, na gin goilal, Tashin cor eber culina coramain ons cúsfi trimseach aglach, Genodmud ach jannoo mortashin smunion de wei in rid share. Creëlje besain de chortreishon limme je chimme a yi mai. Van Charn Godalming engel soelrish minute na geachnish henke rish. Renne kummelsoes fed en beg as urgit, couch doorte. Fuddy de be a chan wall shen ledden de roddanen, as me vis shen morte, ta rid emre nai shen. Lugden gulsha walla heishin ron gus a tie. A shing and goilker ale de hannachten foske doen de bilgen an eye, gouds van reholles sailjein maag. Tre renksjen de porch, doshel en allo a pogege, as gauwe maag immer die ridden, va currit cheesegge griech, as renne rege ons kier podden en begge, as spachtel wei der au fair jaus on kaag. One of Scotland's great troubadours was Alex Campbell, and here he sings of the Mormond Braes.
As I come in but stricken to my heart, the fair maid morning, and she was making sair complaint for a true love na returning. Fair you will ye morning brace, for at times I've been cheery. Fair you will ye morning brace, for it's there I lost my dearie. Well, there's many a horse has slipped and fallen and risen again quite rarely. There's many a lass has lost her lad and gotten another recht early. Fair you will ye morning brace, for at times I've been cheery. Fair you will ye morning brace, for it's there I lost my dearie. There's just as good fish in the sea as ever yet was taken. I'll cast my net and try again, for now will I forsaken. Fare ye William Mormond brace, for at times I've been cheery. Fare ye William Mormond brace, for it's there I lost my dearie. My lad, he was a bonny and was said he'll load me dearly, yet knew he's ta'en another lass and left me oh so cruelly. Fare ye William Mormond brace, for at times I've been cheery. Fare ye William Mormond brace, for it's there I lost my dearie. Say I'll gang into Strickington, for I was born and bred in, and there I'll get another sweetheart who'll marry me in the morning. Fare ye William Mormond brace, for at times I've been cheery. Fare ye William Mormond brace, for it's there I lost my dearie. So fare ye William Mormond brace, for at times I've been cheery. Fare ye William Mormond brace, for it's there I lost my dearie.
The Mormond Braes are in Doric country in Aberdeenshire, but that was sung there by Alex Campbell, who was from Glasgow originally, but a much-travelled singer of Scottish songs. Eis Laa'l Andreays, Tashin Golstiach ons gau aglach, as de fémine wappen en je immedi sorch. Gene noij anemach inrichen te noijijn. Jinshu kunjen de wel een jaart egge je feed dunje. As ger de wel na scornien en as de reden en ingen je een geint gadjen, as a fair shen rubrisje no rubru, genel na vier egges en foslit de weg 8 jaart. Fuddy dunje strage, na podden de geen een strage koejach nation, ach, eg chartans de geerten kummele. Ach, genodded gortig nach kedden as fodmus we gortig eggesen. Sein dun fair shen kodeshin heen weissen benten run. Gin shu frail shaw fagesten en gree. Gaus Laa'l chrogis sus crucifix beg urgid, as shine maach dau, as mission fair bunjede day. Gin shu corn a blaen shaw magiten in wannel, as I saw hugged out slongen the blaen garliade fjochit. So nodgen elia smoogen tail shaw, a gunnen shaw as a skin shaw. And now A.W. Moore goes on. This mode of forming surnames is less common among the peoples of Celtic speech is a fact which is probably due to the organisation of the clan having been more fully developed and preserved to a later date amongst these peoples than elsewhere. It's certainly not the fact that descriptive nicknames were uncommon amongst the Celts. On the contrary, the quick fancy of this race has always displayed itself in the readiness with which sobriquets of this kind were invented. Many such distinctive epithets among the Welsh and Irish have become famous in history, as Howell Da, Howell the Good, Donald Gorham, Blue Donald, Malcolm Canmore, Malcolm Greathead, Con Bacach, Con the Lame, O'Connor Don, Brown O'Connor. Music from Hamish Napier's Sweet the River that he brought to Unshroniach a few years ago.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Siodiw stasiwn yn asiwn radio banning a si Claare na Gael wys verklaas in Cartnish. Mer yn pyn Robert gyda'n cars wel Robert a carslach.
Did the other hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
Genel Claare na Gael ach fair jou immer die Claare in radio banning wys verklaas in wys schachten lukt ook al skelia maag in geert. In het eigen radio banning broedje a kraman agert as raigi enema Claare en shin. De podcast jintje Claare na Gael nies, vis vergeten nasty in het eigen radio banning, na true dan reich de podcast jou Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. Now A.W. Moore goes on to quote an older source now. Sir Henry Piers, he says, writing in the year 1682, to Anthony, Lord Bishop of Meath, gave the following account of Irish sobriquets. They take much liberty, and seem to do it with delight in giving of nicknames, and if a man have any imperfection or evil habit, he shall be sure to hear of it in the nickname. Thus, if he be blind, lame, squint-eyed, grey-eyed, be a stammerer in speech, be left-handed, to be sure he shall have one of these added to his name. So also from his colour of hair, as black, red, yellow, brown, etc., and from his age, as young, old, or from what he addicts himself to, or much delights in, as in draining, building, fencing, or the like, so that no man whatever can escape a nickname who lives among them. So libidinous are they in this kind of raillery that they'll give nicknames per antiphrasim, or contrariety of speech. That's Sir Henry Piers, quoted by A.W. Moore. As on cúna ons olju, na lampach an lectrach o beg seo, od a siwcion rishin yn gliw. As on olju, as skin olju verjere, seo, nach naiden don jino an chajerik dan jou immerchach. Pert je all an chajerik voor seo. Hugge ons kuda skriwen, as hugge I dus. Van ongolly courage de kaartje in a firelia. Nish, doorte, ma gare John. Kred an a acher en krauwach. Ma vis ked on fasle en doris, gaan naiden on brisjes jaags a tai through den unjek, ma rai ons taien in a lucy. Ren an fairly seward Abe, lesh ferne geje in a acher en krauwach, as an ablage over an achegge mar fairly prowel na bondage day. De leer hure acher va fregertach. Lurt de leest de beggen huggers vai, ren na bout liegelesh, as lesh klang murgach ren e raibach. Renshin brew koele dorsch, ren na jousen en murgach gisterni, as de mol ren e fasla. Now, a woman of the russet-coloured coat, that's the subject of this song from the Isle of Jura, and to sing it, Christine Primrose.
Han har tan gadi Zeus boy gaat of God ik God het doet naar Zaken oors en jan min noran leda God en roer Kom doch als een eis of jolig komen God om wooi Speka fem govi kurshet Susaiem horst O kajen visha veru reshet Auna Rip jammetjes klim og lamman Skal vi fatte boen Et ahul jav og harame fanaj Sakur karam nuan Nuat sabaget nam og folke Javus rovar hoan Achabis rov no shita goza Marvan hotan
Christine Primrose, accompanied by Duncan McGillivray on guitar and Alistair White on whistle, and Bjorn Chochin Roy, the woman of the russet-coloured coat. Hugge mish ons cunnion, nas Gillen and early Seward, J. Fosler Tai Merriwan in a Western Ra. Tammy Shilton the Rowie Jin the denken unnaid in a Firelia. A fair, lesh unnaidnia, ren a tarn back the feishach. Shen Oluwen Gider de Glaciage ai, as Rowie Kestmet Stjachs a Doris Foslich. In manus tuas, Domine, Dorte, as cor crosha gersen heen, chaus haie heris sola Doris. Rensjen duna Dorisen en lurg. Al, cwn vech na lampigen ein fodich, de bodachsjen voor die tarn Gael wijn red. Ren en alu prowel de kerelach a glas. Al na beeblit ein fosli wijn chaus dai, maar werk drissor in kost na mag aas. Esch, rensjen ol you fod na lampigen ein, as gausjen toiach dern in ronsach. Ren en solis wijn a lampigen fiebeg, Skeelje de chuljuhorst de chummigen kweeg. Gouds hein a skellen tessen de geelje, nor en stoelten in gurp, kjau ske doen moera. I.W. Moore has quoted Sir Henry Piers. Sir Henry was born in 1629, died in 1691. And Moore now quotes from Patrick Weston, P.W. Joyce, 1827 to 1914, an Irish historian, writer and music collector known for his research in Irish etymology and particularly for his local place names of Ireland, which he published in 3 volumes from 1869 to 1913. And Moore, of course, he didn't survive to see the 1913 edition, Moore, but he quotes from the second series, which was published in 1875. And he writes that, Dr. Joyce writes, in early life I knew a village where more than half the people were familiarly known by nicknames, which were always used, the proper names being hardly ever mentioned. One man, on account of his endurance in faction fights, was called Gadarach, which literally means a tough fellow, like a gad or with. Or withy. Well, here it looks as though Dr. Joyce is referring to the irritating gadfly, but I haven't been able to find an insect or irritant called a withe or a withy, which seems to be associated with the withy platydosias, but there's nothing to do with insects, so his explanation is a little bit short there, at least to me. Now, another of the great troubadours of Scottish song was Hamish Imlach, and here he sings the well-known song about the Calton Weaver.
Carlton weaver, I'm a rash and a roving blade. I've got silver in my booches, gang, and follow the roving trade. Oh, whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey, 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 Nancy, oh. As I get in by Glasgow City, Nancy whiskey a chance they smell. I get in, sat down beside her, 7 long years I loved her well. Oh, whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey, 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 Nancy, oh. I arose early in the morning, slaked my truth, it was my need. I tried to rise, but I wasn't able, whiskey had me by the heel. Ah, whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey, 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 Nancy, oh. Quick landlady, what's the law, and tell me what I have to pay. 15 shillings is the reckoning, pay me new and go away. Oh, whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey, 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 Nancy, oh. As I get out by Glasgow City, Nancy whiskey a chance they smell. I get in, spent 4 and 6pence, all I left was a crooked scale. Ah, whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey, 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 Nancy, oh. Well, I'll go back to the Carlton weave and fairly make the shuttles fly. I'll make mer at the Carlton weave and the never I did in the roving way. Oh, whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey, 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 Nancy, oh. Come all ye weavers, Carlton weavers, come all ye weavers, wherever ye be. Beware of whiskey, Nancy, whiskey, ruin you as she ruined me. Oh, whiskey, whiskey, Nancy, whiskey, 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 Nancy, oh.
The Carlton Weaver, sung by Hamish Imlach. And after Gadrach, Dr. Joyce continues. Another was never called any name but Clúis Darragh, red ears. Now, Clúis is Manx for an ear. A third was Phil the Gaddy, or Phil the Thief. Of course, we have guides to steal. A fourth, Sean the Bointre, John the son of the widow. Well, Bointre, we have Bentrach for a widow. And one man who was a notorious schemer was universally called by way of derision, or per antiphrasm, Thomas the Sagart, Tom the priest. Well, we have Sagart the priest, of course, giving the surname Taggart, MacIntaggart, the son of the priest. Back to A.W. Moore. In the Isle of Man, he says, as in all small stationary communities, nicknames were much used. Indeed, in certain parishes where there were many bearing the same name, as Corlet in Ballaugh, which is exactly what we heard from Mr J B Keig, and Qualtro, or Kolchrach in Russian, they were an absolute necessity for the sake of distinction. Chadod mi son o lioas gedden reirish en enjachten dra pech enjach elien am Aastein. Tamishin de rawe a kunjach courage choledje dau liorish a gromage van a mugirtamum en chiel chonich aglach shen ons Transylvania. Liam de rawe enjachten reinich or in ulju. Son gauw mi taaste de rawe firelje freurish gien in Gaelen, ek dag shien as ek dag skare do no. Kart maar van mi gennachten de wei gol jannoo empien. Van Clenlin het voor bratju de joon. Vei Jane de ouwe leer voor kust de Orlean Jay. Limme ons Jay ons boel is verkaurig en kesmet jint gerrig. Ondau tre remmi kummel ingel melampa, dat mi fag en de kaurig en Jay trainig en breg, red van John de Leibrisch. Van de bolligen kluiach tromlish John. As ons nolienen verglauten de sneeuwen en duoli. Sneeuwen en duoli. As orru van John Himsige der we Jane Gorishan frittelig en repich. No der ouwe trimmejau a jaar noes uit ons beurt. A tune extremely popular here in the island, particularly on the harp, after the visit, or the visits, of Callum Stewart to Shanachie Stew. That's Looking at a Rainbow Through a Dirty Window.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
As the Jarw Shane Stasiwn and Asiwn Shen the Grey Radio Vanning, as to Claare Show and Message Claire na Gael, Mish Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have you heard tell of our Bobby Bob?
Boert sa halje voor dosmoer de ocheren, les le page in boeieg trei kach. Va immer wij jint jou kies de geeren, no de rauw boert kies de schrijbigen se brat de joon, gesoler is shen va na halje gemaag, tre rennen allu iri nisad. Geen douwes doorte. Ta enne der bol show, Jonathan. Ta wuss an junu kop en jay kazes en chira jay, as ta enneds a goed slew na smoona tingen, krein red gus a CAPERCAILLIE. Va I am nød vi na lai, na jai tre remi kyrt rosh nish na denkel jam kars na stjag onji. Ma so ren mi li jalen red. As lukt jen de marrenacht na ge, hurmi maag der au mi chirach jay dors injil dari, ons komme as asnigen jaarnegge. Sjachen innage, door ten allo, gaus er nie voor de lampe egge, kazels chire beg jen tai. Jint, gamers, gaus er nie troggele lampe egge, kazels chire beg jen tai. Jint mar kop as a chodan, jay na lau skriunen, jint empien, bent in der kjonigen tai. It's been thought advisable, says A.W. Moore, whether that was by him or somebody else isn't clear, it's been thought advisable to furnish some specimens of the nicknames which were formerly recorded in the parish registers, as well as of those which are still in use. They'll be discussed under the following heads: nicknames derived from 1. Character or appearance, 2. Place of abode or origin, 3. Parents' Christian names, 4. Trade or occupation. And the earliest, he says, the earliest nicknames from character or appearance are on the inscribed crosses, where we find Thorwulf the Red, Rautha, Grim the Black, and Sandulf the Black, Swarty, of Scandinavian origin, and Thorlaf Gnocchi, where Gnocchi is probably Celtic, see O'Neirk, and O'Neirk is mentioned in the Annals of the Four Masters from 1032 and 1128, but published in an edition edited by John O'Donovan in 1856. Now, one of the great stars of Scottish music hall was Will Fife, and this is his greatest hit.
I've been with a few of my cronies, one or two pals of mine. We went in a hotel, we did very well, and then we came out once again. And then we went into another, that is the reason I'm through. We had 6 Dochin Doris's, then sang a chorus, just listen, I'll sing it to you. I belong to Glasgow, dear old Glasgow town, but there's something the matter with Glasgow, for it's going round and round. I'm only a common old working lad, as anyone can see, but when I get a couple of drinks on a Saturday, Glasgow belongs to me. There's nothing in being teetotal and saving a shilling or two. If your money you spend, you've nothing to lend, isn't that all the better for you? There's nae harm in taking a drappie, it ends all your troubles and strife, and it gives you the feeling that when you land home, well, you don't care a hang for your wife. That's the feeling you get when you... I belong to Glasgow, dear old Glasgow town, but there's something the matter with Glasgow, for it's going round and round. I'm only a common old working lad, as anyone can see. But when I get a couple of drinks on a Saturday, Glasgow belongs to me.
And that's Will Fife. I belong to Glasgow, as he sings, but actually he was originally from Dundee. Well, moving on to more recent written records, A.W. Moore says, and of course he's using the language of 1890 when he was writing, that the natural, referring, he says, to idiocy, is unfortunately a somewhat common entry in the registers. Now, as I mentioned, the first part of this was rather an essay, but we now come to what constitutes quite a list of nicknames given by Moore, so I suppose not unlike the list of names given by J B Keig in his book there that was republished in 1940. But A.W. Moore goes on to refer to Tommy Scatty, and he says puny or lean Tommy. So that's Scatty. I'm not quite sure what Scatty comes from. Tommy Scatty, puny or lean Tommy. Cannel ear, perhaps from the size of those appendages, he suggests. John Cowler, stoop, and Kathleen the cripple signify bodily infirmities. In 1660, Anne Watterson, Ben Vaughan's sister, was buried in Maloo. So that's a quote from the Annals, the parish register. Anne Watterson, Ben Vaughan's sister. Ben Vaughan perhaps meaning White Benjamin, he suggests. Now, if you recall, Mr J B Keig also had a Ben Vaughan in Ballaugh, and it could mean White Woman as well, but both he and A.W. Moore here are suggesting White Ben, White Benjamin. In the Mackle register, says Moore, we find Old Carrad Ben, buried the 14th of November, 1683. Now, Old Carrad, which is Old Garrett, he says, had probably white hair. Leisach begin de Gauliad hwrshin an acher se dos, as doshel shin an doris. Varshin jerkel rish pert an jou haatnis, Schoon gauws was in fossil en doris ve jean der en edrum bren, shadje macht trut na burnigen. A gerauw verder bijin rieuw jerkelrish lid a ra as henkoren. Gerauw verder bijin a firelje jit kwele gaunt chorer bij de John. A streve mission argene, ve ons keem troste of joes, ons na schemer en egge, ne, treve jint maak les voel oer, ons struggle tol tenach foslit den Ach, ons sjo speg a spluchit an bol. As ten jou immed jouwer chor ne, be sharu as bren. Va sor jane oer on, maar de bege miasme chirremenjach, henk tru den sprenje. Ach benten den ra hien, krenach fodom cor kunta jay. Gan enige en der rauwe jint soes jay ulke nulju a rar venus, as les sor leja sharu no folle on. Ach, the rauwe jean mor de bech lawes hiener jit de way millet. Now the audience at Mod na Halibut joined together to sing two songs here. The first, Suas Lesha Gaelig, up with the Gaelic, and the other song of parting, Sorry Liv, is Ich Liv.
She
the audience at Maud na Halibut joining in with gusto on those two songs, Suas leis a Gaeilg and Sorry Liv is Ich Walliv. Foch, te corn drach arm smunnion By Jean the rau dach ennel was shedget mach ege broutchen jitte by lianten rische wol, as njaartige a vierde jay. Now, earlier on, AWO mentioned O'Connor Dawn, Brown O'Connor, and I must admit I thought he might have mentioned as well, taken the opportunity to mention Illiam Dawn there as well, but of course now he crops up, and here we have Illiam Dawn. Brown-haired William is the well-known William Christian, Receiver General and Governor of the island, who was shot to death at Hango Hill on the 2nd of January 1662. Well, we'll have more from A.W. Moore on nicknames next time. As Shin by Claare na Gaelic here Shaw. And we finish with the sound of The Unusual Suspects in a piece they call Bass Strathspeyset. From 7 to 9, it's your Sunday chill out here on Manx Radio, presented by Chris Pearson, and then at 9 it'll be Judith Layan to present Sundown. Ach nish, until the next time then, this is Robert Catin Carswell, Robert the Carslach, the Shen the Grey,
Owl Bobby Bob,
wishing you a very good night. Eve, I'm a Crieri, was Orselier, as my Yiri and Shed you will you.